Cybersecurity is an ever-growing field, and representation within it matters more than ever. We here at the Other Side of the Firewall podcast strive to highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, people of color who have made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall into those senior and C-suite level positions. Aside from interviews of IT professionals just like you, our crew will have fun discussing the latest and greatest news, measures to protect yourself from bad actors on the interwebs, and sprinkle in some games entertainment as well. Now with that out of the way, let's get to the show.
Happy holidays, everybody. My name is Ryan Williams, and today, as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes
What's up? What's up?
and Levon Maynard.
What's up?
Today's show, we will discuss a handful of the biggest hacks, data breaches of 2020. I said it like it was two different sentences. The biggest hacks and data breaches of 2020, excuse me. The attempted cyber attacks on the COVID research, and a very interesting iOS security vulnerability that Shannon sent to us that fits perfectly into this week's patch notes. But first, how's everybody's week?
Man, my week was okay, man. I can't complain. Really nothing to report, man. The kids are still alive, so that's always a good thing, right? I didn't have to strangle anybody this week. That's good.
Yeah,
There you
yeah,
go. There you go.
But no, I mean it's kind of Groundhog's Day at this point. You know what I mean? Same thing every day.
yeah.
Gotcha. What about study? How's that going?
Man, studying. I took a little bit of a break this week. Like I looked at it a couple times, but because I kept finding myself, reading the same stuff over and over again, I was like, all right, let me just push away for a little bit, and then today I'm going to get a little bit more into it tonight. Go back to doing, the hour and 2 hours and whatnot to get back into it. But it just got to a point where I was like, am I reading what I'm reading? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was like, let me take a little bit of a break, a step back. I think I only studied like 2 nights this past week. So, a little bit of a
Okay.
break, but I'm going to pick it up again tonight.
Right. And
Gotcha.
it all depended on if football was on. You're like, do I need to study? Football's on? Nah.
Look, seeing my Ravens lose again. I don't know if I'm gonna. I'll be watching any more football. We'll see.
Mm, Gotcha there. Oh, and for those listening, maybe this is their first episode. Shannon is studying for his CISP, so that's why we keep checking in on them and teasing them with all these damn domains. He's
Right.
learning.
Yeah, that's some work right there.
What about you, Levon? What you been up to?
Yeah, so let's see. It's been similar to Shan. I've been sitting here in Groundhog's Day, kind of going through the daily grind. Kind of wake up. I go to work on my in my game room or office space, and then and I've been, besides working, I've been enjoying my new shiny new consoles. Been
Yeah, there
playing
you go.
some,
The game room.
yeah, my game room with my big TV, and yeah, so it's going pretty well. I haven't had no complaints.
Okay, all right.
It's been kind of chilling out. I've been, I got my master's degree earlier this year, and since then I've been kind of taking a little bit easy. I want to get back into the grind a little bit and study for some more certifications, but right now I'm just kind of enjoying some time off, and maybe after the holidays and the new year, I'm gonna start getting back in the books. So I'm looking for the next big thing to study up on.
No, I hear that, and so that's good. I mean, we gotta take time after you do something so big.
Yeah.
Kind of in the same boat, except for I've been saying I'm studying for CHFI. I am not.
It,
So how you schedule the date and it gives you a timeline.
right.
Yeah, I just kicked it to the right. So the test the test was supposed to happen yesterday, and I was like, you know what? Let's
Yeah.
push that to after Christmas.
Right.
So
Right. It's a lot of distractions during the holidays. I mean, you got to do all the shopping. You got to take care, whatever you can do with the kids or the family, and
Well,
it's okay to.
not so much him, Levon. Remember, he's
Yeah. Right. I know. He's across the water right now.
yeah, and over here overseas, I don't have that much going on.
Yeah.
It's enough where I'm like, I'm gonna do that a little bit later. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get it done though. Like the goal is to test out before the new year. So I'm thinking right after Christmas, because things will slow down during that Christmas week. I'll get plenty of study in, and then knock it out.
Yeah.
But back to your game room. So what have you been playing?
Let's see. So I started off. I've been playing mostly the Xbox the last couple weeks here. Playing a lot of Destiny 2. Been going through there, kind of grinding and getting my characters' levels up. Um, for anybody that's is not familiar with Destiny 2, it's pretty much like a first-person shooter where you can. I guess it's more like I think they call it like MMORPG kind of thing where it's like a big open world and you can interact with other people who are in it and you're leveling up your characters, finding items and yeah, just fighting bad guys. But I've been playing that a lot. Also, cracked open the PS5 and I played some of the I think they call it Astro's Playroom. That was pretty fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like
I heard that one is a cool demonstration of the controller, right?
yeah. Actually, I was pretty impressed with it. I mean, the functionality they put within the controller has like its own speaker, mic, and it's like motion sensitive and has the haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. So it's much of like I'd say kind of next gen features they added to the controller itself just to make it even more of a experience. But
Okay.
it was fun playing the game because it kind of takes you through like some of the history of PlayStation or like at least kind of nostalgic take on it. They have like they kind of you go through each level and you can like unveil like you get these items that look like the consoles that were consoles and the accessories that came with it from back in the day. So
Gotcha.
going through it kind of like it kind of brought back a lot of memories growing up and getting all the game systems and stuff. So it's a fun game. They did a good job.
Okay. That's what's up. As soon as they're available to the rest of us in the world, I'll probably pick one up.
Yeah, I just got to activate your bot, man. I got the connection for you. Like, no, I was just joking. I never use a bot.
Right. We frown upon Skyping here
Right.
at the podcast.
Yeah. Now I was just lucky to I got like a pre-order ahead of time back when I actually got it through like a military website. So I was fortunate enough to kind of beat the line and just grab one and secure one for myself.
No, that's what's up. Congratulations there, sir. I'm gonna ask you every week. Every week I don't have one. I'm gonna live vicariously through you. Like so what are we playing this week? Is one of my asks.
Right. What are we playing? And you just be talking about me.
But all right. I guess we should get back to the show, right? So jumping into topic one, the biggest hacks, data breaches of 2020, according to ZD.net. I found this article interesting because it was kind of a recap or a greatest hits of 2020, and 2020 was rough, right? So it went month by month, talked about every significant data breach that they recorded, every ransomware attack, any PII being released out there in the wild, so on and so forth. So I picked 5, and I'd like to discuss, these 5, and not be in great detail, but just trying to get you guys' your thoughts on it. The number 1 I picked, which was not in January, I think it was like March or something like that, was Wawa. So Wawa lost 30 million records containing customers' details that were available for sale online. So it was a pretty huge breach. I felt it before I learned about it. So in my case, I live in Florida, and I couldn't like my nearest gas station because I live in the boonies is about 10, 15 minutes away is Wawa. And I couldn't get gas that day. The day I needed gas, I had to go even further right on E because all of their pumps were down because they were all being upgraded to the chip readers where you have to leave it in there for it to read the chip
Yeah.
before you put in your pin. Because of the whole skimming situation where somebody was able to get into the point of sale system and then pull out all this data. So
Wow.
And that's one of those things, like with it being at the point of sale equipment as well. It's not like somebody went into Wawa's security or their data servers or anything like that and got this information. Like they were getting it right from the customers. You know what I mean? You go into the gas station, you buy some chips, it was on the system there. You pump some gas, it was on the system there. So it's not like they went into the company and the company was negligent by any means, right? In how they protected their data servers, but that's how they were getting it, man. And that's one of those things where that's becoming more and more of what you're seeing, right? Is people doing it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This at the time, I'm not sure if it was invested yet. I don't believe so, but at the time, it was considered the biggest dump in history. Um, it was advertised as the Big Bada Boom 3 because of how much card information was released and for how long. So they've been collecting this information for I can't do math in my head from March 4th to December 12th of 2019 before it was released
Yeah,
to the
it's a good
public.
9 months.
So that was a pretty huge one. Then the next one I annotated because I'm a nerd, right? Nintendo lost 160,000 users accounts. Not lost, but someone was able to look at that information. This one was due to a legacy connection they had with. I don't know if you guys had DSs back in the day, but Nintendo's always been kind of slow with building their online service. So they had this Nintendo Network ID or NNID
Yeah.
that when you bought the new system, so when I bought my Switch, you were able to recover that information. Well, it was a backdoor. So that's that when it comes to legacy systems, right?
Yeah.
And
I had a
that's one of the things you have to worry about, right? When you want to tie in, so you have to decide whether or not it's worth it to have these legacy systems up or to upgrade to say, okay, well, we need to go away from this because of the security issues. But again, it's one of those things where it comes down to money, right? Return on investment. Like, how much does it cost me to do this?
right.
How much does it cost me to do this? And I don't know. I mean, out of the 160,000 users, right, that are impacted in this, how many of them actually know about it, right?
Mm, right. That's a good point.
At least it's a
That's a
small
good
Yeah,
scale.
point.
the only reason I heard
160,000
about it.
is comparatively small. At least it's a small scale, right? When you're talking about Wawa and millions,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah, this one I heard about in the gaming forums before I even heard about it in the media because Nintendo immediately came out and said, "Hey, listen, we've been impacted and this is what's been lost." I forget what they offer. It's probably credit protection like everybody else. Like how many different credit protectors do I need? Because my stuff has been
That's
breached so
true.
many
Yeah.
times. All right, then the next one I had no idea about because I haven't really been tracking international news in this respect. Is the Pakistani mobile data breach? Apparently, 44 million Pakistani mobile users information was leaked online to include their full names, their home addresses, their national identification number, whatever that is, um, their phone numbers or landline numbers, and the dates of their subscriptions. This was part of a bigger breach of 115 million that happened overseas, but 44 million of that was only Pakistani customers, and the ransomers wanted $2.1 million in Bitcoin.
Mm,
Was the ransom?
And the thing with this is that they suspect. So the company, the cell phone company, Jazz, I think is the name of it. They're saying that they didn't get that information from their data servers, and this may be information that was procured as far back as 2013, right? So like how safe does that make you feel, right? Like so we're talking 7 years later,
Right.
like I know for me, I've had the same phone number for longer than 7 years, right? So has my information been out there, right? Like my name hasn't changed, right? My full name, my home address, yeah, but I'm guessing the national identification number is maybe the Pakistani version of social security numbers, maybe. You know what I mean? Um, Date of subscription. I
Yeah.
mean, what they can gather from that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if they were to do something with my account or something along those lines. But yeah, I don't. I've had my phone number for longer than 7 years. So if that was to happen to me, I'd be like, well, I don't know. They got something on me, It goes sign me
hmm
up for some
Right.
some of these telemarketers or whatever, and keep sending me stuff. I guess if they want to be cruel, that's kind of the worst thing you could do.
right. Right. Yeah. I've been getting a bunch of like spam calls as of late, in particular my wife
For
as well.
sure. For sure.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing too right now. I don't know, you know, uh, I don't know much that could be done about it, but uh, I have a cell phone service through T-Mobile, and they have this like spam blocker, or scam blocker, whatever they call it, to prevent these marketers from getting through on your phone line. And it kind of blocks a lot of numbers. It actually takes care of a lot of it. I just kind of I occasionally look at the filter and see what numbers have been blocked or what calls have been blocked, and it's normally a healthy amount, kind of daily or throughout the week. And but my wife doesn't really have that much protection, so she gets all these random calls, and actually she's starting to get these like text messages too, random text messages from numbers with, hey, click here for some, to save on your car insurance or something. But it's just one of those things that's like super annoying, and also, it's like definitely questionable sometimes. These people trying to call you, they might be some swindlers trying to get something out of you. But
So I have T-Mobile as well, right? So I do have that defense shield or whatever they call
yeah,
it. But yeah, I've never gotten a text message before. So what is that? Smishing, right? When somebody sends you
Right.
an
Yeah.
SMS and tries to
Hmm.
get you to click it.
yeah,
I thought those were fake
yeah,
because I've never
They
seen
they
them.
are
right,
they are very
right,
real. I'll tell you like this. Let's make it 3 for 3 because I'm T-Mobile as well, right? So, like, so I'm getting the same thing though. So like and some of them, and I'm on the do not call registry that you can do, right? You go out there and
hmm
add your number to the do
Yeah,
not call registry. And when I kept getting them, I went and checked. I was like, well, let me go check the site and make sure because I figured maybe you'd fall off after a certain amount of time, maybe. And I went and checked, and nope, I was still on there. My number was still on there. The wife's number was still on there. So I don't know what's happening.
yeah,
Now with T-Mobile, I do get the spam likely designator on it. You know what I mean? When I get the call, and I'm
right,
like,
right.
that ain't for me. 'Cause-
hmm
So maybe the registry only protects you against legitimate scammers. You know what I mean? Like the people trying to sell you
right.
car insurance because your car insurance is expired, or
those are the
warranty.
ones I
Your
keep
warranty is just
getting.
expired,
Those are
right?
the ones I keep getting.
Uh,
Is my warranty. Well, I get
oh
them
man, I
calling
don't
me for a
know.
warranty on a vehicle I no longer even own. I'm like, I know you ain't got the
Right.
right person.
Right.
Like this is 1984 Datsun. Finally, your warranty finally expired. You're like,
I ain't
Yeah.
had that Pinto in forever. No.
I sold that thing.
so
That's funny.
number four is a victory, right? So I chose the AWS that they mitigated a massive 2.3 terabyte per second DDoS
Mm,
attack. So this was a good one, and they definitely boasted when it happened. So we don't know what company was actually attacked. They didn't release that. However, they did release that they were able to block it, and then what the means of the attack was. This one was a CLDAP, a connectionless lightweight directory access protocol, which I know LDAP. I didn't know CLDAP. Like I didn't know that existed. But apparently, using that attack vector, you can increase the traffic being sent 56 to 70%. So
mm.
like you can just murder somebody. So just imagine this wall of just pings of death or what have you attacking your company. And they said it lasted a week. It was a whole week of this DDoS attack on whatever company this was, and they actually saved them.
And this is good advertisement for them, right? So like them doing something that you pay them to do, right? Like you sign up with them for them to not necessarily, I don't want to say take the risk, but for them to be in control of the protections for whatever may be on their systems, right? Whatever may be on their infrastructure or whatever that they're hosting. And this is good advertisement for them. This is one of those good stories you seldom see, right? Uh, I want to say I
hmm
mentioned this last week? We're talking about you don't see how much is actually protected against and whatnot, and people would be surprised. Well, this is one of those that's a big name too, right? So like AWS, everybody knows that, right? Everybody knows who they are. So
hmm
it's a good success
Right.
story for them. The company, I'm pretty sure they had to notify the company, right? Like they didn't just say, okay, they're not letting the general
Right.
public know, but they probably went back to the company and said, hey, here's what we found. Pat us on the back a little bit. Was it right? And rightly so, right? We did our job. We did it very well. But this is one of those success stories you like to see.
Yes, it's definitely awesome. And then a little correction for myself. It wasn't 56 to 70%, it's 56 to 70 times
Jeez.
the amount of traffic. So
Oof.
even more menacing. Pretty cool. And then the last one I chose was Cisco. I thought it's not funny because it impacted people, right? People were impacted by this um, insider threat. So a former engineer pleaded guilty to causing amounts of damage to Cisco networks, costing the company $2.4 million to fix.
Mm.
So I think when I read the article, it was roughly 1.4 million in virtual servers that he took down, and then another million in damages to the companies that were impacted by it. So he was swinging for the fences, and he did this 5 months after termination.
Wow.
5 months, or I'm sorry, it says resignation. So it says he resigned, and then 5 months later, he came back and caused havoc. In my opinion, if you're that petty, you didn't resign on your own volition.
Right.
So,
Right. Really.
here's the thing with this, right? So, with everything that we talk about, right? We will talk about patching and how you need to patch all the time and do this, that, and the third. This is the number one threat, right? Like as it stands right now, at least until Skynet is up and operational, right? Uh, people are going to be your
Right.
biggest threat, right? For everything that we have to implement, there's a human that has to do that. And this is, but it's one of those things that it's an accepted risk for everyone in this day and age, right? We all have to have a person to implement this, that, or the third. But this is why it's important that when someone leaves, you actually take care of these types of things. You get rid of their accesses, right? You disable them, delete them, whatever it needs to be, and you have that process in place so you do not have something like this happen, right? Because the 1.4 million you mentioned, Ryan, it was additional employee time to restore and rectify the damage. So they had to pay their employees,
Okay. Gotcha.
right, to stay overtime or do whatever it may be, or even hire on more employees to try to get them back to the state that they were in, right? And then it was $1 million that they had to pay to the customers that were impacted by it, right? So anyone who couldn't get on to their Cisco WebEx or whatever it was, like you can imagine they're going to call, right? Like, hey, I'm having a problem. I can't host these meetings or whatever, especially, you know what I mean, in the years of 2020, right? So they were having issues with
Right,
that, and
exactly.
this was August, I think it was, that this one came out, something like that. So we're deep into telework. You know what I'm saying? To where people are using your product. So it's you gotta, again, as much as we harp on patching and things of that nature, like you do have to watch the people as well, because this is going to be threats.
Right.
So I've worked for a department where they're going to terminate one of their contractors. And before they brought him in the office, they came to my desk and they said, "I need you to restrict all access for this guy. Like, don't tell him what for. Don't make eye contact with him. Like, he's going to come into his desk. He's going to check his email. And then when you see him stand up and walk out the room, I need you to take everything from him." And then, I was young in the Air Force game. I was like, oh man, I was excited. I'm like, oh, I'm about to be part of the firing. So yeah, they stripped him of all his rights because they're like, if he comes back, like, like if he comes back to pack his desk, he might come back here and he might start disrupting operations. Like, you can't have that.
Hey, Ryan was like, "I'm so happy right now. I'm about to end this man's whole career."
Oh yeah, when he came back, you can't smile. You know what I mean? Like, and not that I want to see anybody get fired,
Right.
but it was one of those type of people who they made themselves more important than they may have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he had all the access. He had changed all the passwords for the systems that he worked on. Like, he was the single point of failure. So like, they can't possibly fire me. So I'm just not going to show up to work sometimes.
It's
We
crazy you bring that up. I had a
crashing.
similar situation, man. It just so happened that I worked at a unit where I was on the opening schedule that week, and so I got a call from my flight commander, and he was like, "Hey," he was like, "You're on the early schedule, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "When you come in, I need you to disable so and so's account because there's going to be some, He didn't go into it with me, but he was like, "Yeah, there's some stuff that's going to go down tomorrow." And I was on the early shift. I came in, I did it. The guy showed up. His boss showed up. You know what I mean? And it was a matter of about 10 minutes, and he was walked out the door.
So what's cool about this? Not cool the damage that was done, obviously, but what's cool about our timing is that his sentencing, because he pled guilty, he can face up to 5 years behind bars and up to $250,000 in fines, but his sentencing doesn't take place until December 9th. So for those of you who are on the free feeds, you're going to be delayed. So you'll get the update uh, when we air this. But for those of you who are on Patreon, like we can track this in real time. I guarantee you, because it's an international case, I guarantee you he's not going to spend that much time behind bars. He won't pay nowhere near $250,000, even though he spent
2.4
basically
million.
what
Yeah.
was that 2.4 million in
Mm.
damages? There's no way they're
I,
gonna try to
I
do court million,
I agree.
especially not an international court.
Right.
Yeah, maybe he's in the states. He could have got them hands, but overseas, I don't think that's gonna happen. So it's lesson learned, people.
Right.
Lock them out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good. You got to do it. It's pretty important to maintain the access control and just maintaining user rights. And obviously, when people are on their way out the door, got to make sure that they're uh, kind of locked out of everything. And I know one thing. I think I've learned over the years. They typically this is kind of like a little nuance, but I think they typically actually keep accounts in. They don't like delete accounts. They normally just like disable them so that they can kind of track them and make sure that they don't get like recreated later on. So it's just like it's one of those
Oh,
small
okay.
little nuances, but
It's the
uh,
disposition. It's the disposition
yeah,
policy,
nonetheless,
right? So like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So
right,
like after, if it's not used for 30 days, it's disabled. If it's 90 days, it goes into this status,
right,
deprovision, all that. Yeah, yeah, that's
hmm
true.
yeah, yeah. But no, that's definitely some good information. I think a lot of compromises come internally more so than well, I don't know the statistics, but it's one of the biggest like sources of breaches is from internal people clicking emails, clicking links in emails, or you know maybe somebody's an insider, somebody's upset with the company like you just read off that they just want to make some, they just want to disrupt it, just cause as much chaos before they leave the company as they can, and just leave
Right.
their mark. And then if they can get away with it, then they're happy. But obviously, this person got caught up. And I think I mentioned to you guys last week as well that there's somebody from I think they were working with Tesla, and they actually got reached out by I think some Russian hacking group about compromising their network, but they were they were pretty you know they had some integrity, and they decided to go ahead and let the authorities know what this group was trying to do and trying to uh, pay him off to be able to compromise the Tesla network and get in there. Which I can imagine if that person agreed to that, to that to do that work or whatever they were trying to do, that could have cost the company, millions and millions of dollars, if not, billions of dollars, however much damage that they could have uh, enlist, affected on the company there. But and it's something you got to be aware of. You got to keep an eye out. You got to take care of your employees to make sure that you're going through the motions to make sure that people have different levels of access. I think this I forgot what it's called. In my master's degree, I remember there's some parts they're talking about. Uh, you don't want to have one person with all the rights of everything. You just got to have different areas of responsibility and different kind of limit the access. So one person doesn't have the keys to the entire kingdom. You can kind of destroy everything. So
Right.
you kind of have to separate
Separation of
the
duties, right
duties.
there. There you go.
Yeah. Yep. There it is.
Yep. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have your mandatory access controls, your discretionary access controls, all that
So
good
with the
stuff.
Tesla thing, you have to.
Absolutely.
So here's something else you have to take into account, right? So, do you really want to cross who is now the second richest man in the world, right? So like Elon came out as the second. I think he was second, yeah, not third, richest man in the world. So like, even if this guy would have gone forward with it, right, and got caught, like, do you want to run the risk of crossing him to where he'll get you in court and tie you up with all his bills that he has at his disposal? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I, not even that, because it gives me some serious Dr. Evil vibes. Like you get in your car and your car just drives off the cliff. You know what I mean? Like I knew it was
Ask
you.
us if you see the screen before you go over.
Right.
I
Oh
knew
my
it was you,
God.
right
I'm
on.
messing with you.
I knew it was you. Oh my God. Yeah, I can see that for sure. That'd be kind of crazy. You know, you never know. They might have that ability to, I don't know, if they really, really wanted to, obviously they wouldn't do it, but if they really wanted to like take control of somebody's car, I'm sure somebody
And drive him off the cliff?
yeah, or just do anything with it, you know, make them run into the back of a police car and, you know, get them arrested or something. I don't know.
It's hilariously and scary as
Yeah,
hell at the
right.
same time. Like they control it over Amazon sidewalk.
Yeah, right.
Car just take
That's
off.
right.
Man, we just burning all types of bridges. If Tesla, Amazon, the list goes on, wants to sponsor our show, we stop talking bad
Right,
about you.
right.
We love you.
Exactly.
Hey, listeners. Please remember that you can support this podcast directly by becoming members of the show's Patreon. Here, you'll be able to listen to the podcast 7 days early, completely ad-free. However, in these trying times, we understand that you may not be able to become a Patreon just yet. In that case, please listen to the show once it's available on free feeds, leave us constructive feedback, and share with your blurred friends and family. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to topic 2. So topic 2, I thought this one obviously is very topical. Russian and North Korean hackers are targeting COVID-19 vaccine researchers, according to an article by CNET. So in that article, it discusses how phishing attempts, as well as just pulling up people's personal information, phone calls, you name it, attacks are being done to researchers and doctors involved in the creation of the COVID vaccine. Microsoft has stated that they have thwarted many of these attempts. However, they're looking for help from international governments in order to stop this from happening. Obviously, everybody and their mom wants the vaccine. I get that. And then these people may be acting on their own, or they could be state funded. Who's to say? But in the day, obviously, this gets in the way of us all getting healthier.
And here's the thing
So,
with this one,
what are your
right?
thoughts?
So this article I want to say is from, is this November? I think this it was a CNET article, right, from November. Like this is something that's been
Yes.
tracked, like even going back earlier into the COVID days, right? So back in like May or June, I want to say it was, we were calling out, who was it? I think it was North Korea. I'm not sure. Was it North Korea? It was back in May. We were calling out somebody for this, and it was like, hey, we know you're doing this, you know, cut it out, right? But this kind of business as usual for them, right? When it comes to, you know, North Korea, China, Russia, like them doing stuff like this, you know, trying to get intellectual property and things of that nature. This isn't new, right? So it's something they do all the time when it comes to other areas, you know, finance, technology, and things of that nature. But it rings more close to home because it can be something that can hurt people right now, right? In the days of COVID. So uh, it's something, again, one of those things that's always going on, but because of the situation we're in with COVID, I think it hits people more like, oh, why are they out there doing this? Well, they're always out there doing this, you know. You care now because it directly affects you, right?
Oh yeah, people are tired of wearing masks every day, so they definitely wanted to roll out as soon as possible. In it, it speaks to I'm trying to find his name, make sure I get it right. So Microsoft's Vice President of Customer Security and Trust is Tim Burt. In it, he describes that the Russians, or at least the attacks coming from Russia, are more brute force type login attempts, which they're trying to access accounts. They're using bots that try every possible combination of credentials. They're just trying to basically just find out what the passwords are to get in the system. I guess potentially to pilfer data, right? But what's interesting to me is that North Korea's hacks and efforts are a little bit more targeted. They're sending crafted emails trying to lure employees and researchers by by stating that they are the World Health Organization or job recruiters looking for new recruits. So I thought that was kind of crazy how each country's attackers per se, because I can't say they're state funded or not because it doesn't detail that, but they're trying different ways. Maybe they're working together. Maybe it's like, hey, you try to get the keys, I'm gonna try to get the social media
And
going, at
and
least get them over here,
you know what's so here's the thing.
or at least get them
So
helping out.
even with them
Yeah,
doing that, right? So you have to think that with these other companies, right? Like if you're Pfizer, Moderna, or whoever, right? It even if you lure somebody away, like what they did with that company should have been proprietary, right? So like they shouldn't be taking it with them to another company and saying, "Here,
right.
this is the formula we were using, or this is the vaccine we were using, or whatever it may be." Not to say it doesn't happen. I'm definitely not saying that, but I can guarantee you, every one of those companies, especially the big pharmaceutical companies that are making billions of dollars, they have that type of stuff where you can't take it from this company to this company. You know what I mean? So this comes again to where where's your threat at, right? It's the people, right? Somebody knows something that they can pass on.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, this is I wasn't too shocked when I saw this. Because it's just something that they do anyway. Like us being in IT, like we know this is something we've seen from these countries anyway for who knows how long, right? So it shocked me too
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the, hackers, obviously, Russia and North Korea are known for their hacking groups. But I think that these groups they're always going to go after what they find to be the most vulnerable, or most like, um, maybe influential or whatever. They can any company that's doing something important that people kind of rely on, or um, think that absolutely a big company that has something that's valuable that they can use to get pretty much to get money out of them. Most of these attacks that I've seen, most of the attacks are out to get something, steal some information, get some money, something to that effect, where they can kind of benefit themselves. It's not so much some kids like in the basement trying to like, let me just see if I can get into this network, this Moderna or whatever. A lot of these, all these big hacking groups, they're trying to, if people are going to rely on these medical companies, for a vaccine, and their life depends on it, they're more likely to pay whatever amount of money they're requesting. Maybe they have some sort of ransomware set up where they're trying to, hold your data for ransom, and then if you give them some money, then they're to release it. So it's like, and people have their lives on the line. They're more than likely to give them money sooner or quicker than maybe a group that's like, oh, we have some backups, or that data is not really that important. It's some company data that we're not really worried about. So I think it's definitely concerning when you hear about these hospitals and medical facilities getting compromised, because those are lives that could be on the line as
So
well
you're telling me
as well as the data.
it's not like the movie War Games with one kid in his
Right.
basement playing
Exactly.
tic tac toe and all this stuff
Right,
like
right. That's right.
that?
I thought it was a game. What's going on?
I haven't seen that in a
Me
long
too.
time. Actually, I need to look that one up. I gotta see if I can find that movie
Yeah,
on
I
here.
know. It's been a minute since I've seen that one. That's a classic too.
All right. So I like to swing into my favorite segment. At least it was until Shannon dashed my dreams, my hopes. Patch notes. So this week's patch notes, only one patch note, but it's a doozy. So last week I was on my high horse talking about Android and how they had the Facebook Messenger exploit or vulnerability that allowed you to peer at people before they accepted your phone call, similar to Apple's FaceTime vulnerability that allowed people to call you and then they immediately started to see your video before you even swiped right to unlock it. So apparently, Google Project Zero, one of the researchers was able to use a specific vulnerability on an iPhone to completely own it, to include being able to download data, activate the phone's camera and microphones, and provide real time spying capabilities without you ever knowing it happened. So I don't
So
know if you want to
so
go into
here's
more
the thing with
detail,
this, right? So
Shannon.
it was kind of playful when I sent it, right? You came after my Android, so I had to come after your iPhone. You know what I mean? But here's what we need to think about. So um, with this, the good thing about this is that they didn't release it to the public. They released it to Apple first, let them fix it, and then release it to the public, right? They were being good white hats about it, like saying, hey, here's something we found, go ahead and make this known and we'll put it out there. So it is out there. But what you're going to start to run into, so when you go looking back through the history of this, right, when it comes to Apple, they didn't have these types of issues that often, right? But when you think about it, it's because their share was limited, right? So they were mostly in the United States, right? They didn't have as large a footprint. So you didn't have a lot of people really going after them like that. Well, as you start to expand your footprint, right? As Apple starts getting out into all these other countries, and especially when they get into China, where there's almost 2 billion people, this is the type of stuff that you're going to start seeing more of. And again, I'm not saying one is better than the other, right? Again, it was just a playful, little back and forth between us. Hey, I'm Android, you're Apple. Here's one for you, but you still have to. This is still stuff we need to be aware of, and we still need to be looking for, and be aware that Apple is out there more in the wild, and more people are going to start putting their resources into this, right? Because I've heard people tell me, oh man, you can't hack Apple, you can't do this and the third, and I'm like, that's not exactly true, right? Like it's out there. It's just that, again, they didn't have the share as some of these other companies out there that have been, international, not just confined to just the United States.
Right, right, exactly. And this exploit used their Apple Wireless Direct Link, or AWDL. What this does is it allows all your Apple products to form an ad hoc type network, and they can all speak to each other. So I have a very Apple centric home, back in the States, and my phone talks to my watch, talks to my AirPods, so on and so forth. I haven't bought one of those. What are they called? The It's like the Alexa speaker, but HomePods. There you go. I haven't bought a HomePod because it's just way too expensive. Um, but pretty much, or Apple TV, that's also in there. So they all talk to one another. What this did was it basically hopped into that ad hoc network, and is able to exploit everything. It's since been patched, so you no longer have to worry about this particular vulnerability. And as well as the researcher who found it could find no evidence that it had ever been exploited. He literally saw, I want to say, an article. Most of us don't get to see the calls on the phone, like the actual protocol calls that pop up, like, oh, we're using this, we're using that. He actually saw a protocol call, for that service, and he didn't know what it was. And that's when he started to research what it was, and then found out that he could circumvent it not very easily. I think it took him almost a year to do it, but you know, idle hands. Like, this guy had a full time job as a researcher, and he was able to figure it out.
That's
What
true.
about
Yeah.
the kid next door? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you give somebody enough time to, enough time, they're gonna figure out a way to get into to something, and that's why, I don't know, that's why cybersecurity is so important, and there's a lot of, I guess, um, what do we call it, like white hat hackers, or white hat hackers that are trying to, like, discover these holes and vulnerabilities before they become like known to the public, and um, these hacking groups out there, they can try to exploit. And it's something you just gotta, I don't know, it's something you gotta be aware of, something that's, you gotta, like, keep in mind that not everything's nothing could be like 100% like foolproof. You always got like a little bit of a chance of somebody getting in there, um, and you gotta, like, weigh out the benefits and the cost of the things that you're protecting, and as well as, like, what your what kind of data you're making available, maybe on the internet and across the wire, so that you can kind of prevent things from being exploited, and what data, if somebody worried we get into it, what kind of data they would have access to, and maybe how much of the data they would have access to. So you can do as much as you can to try to prevent those hacks, but nothing is foolproof.
Right, exactly. If it's able to broadcast and receive, then it's able to be exploited in
Yeah,
some way. You just have to, like you said, mitigate risks as best as possible.
yeah,
Like you don't have to be a hermit and off the grid,
right.
but you do have to be somewhat worried. I love technology, right? I just want to be able to talk to everything and everything to tell me what it's doing and what have you. So I do take a few more risks. However, as I get older, I'm getting more and more
Yeah,
paranoid about the technology around me. I'm not doing anything
yeah.
wrong, but I don't want people
That's
thinking.
right. I know. That's a big thing too. I know people like in general like to cover up the laptop, cameras, things like that. Make sure nobody's like hacking their computer and getting their video or audio. And
Yeah.
yeah,
For the first 2 weeks with my Echo speakers, I hit the mute button for the
yeah,
first 2 weeks diligently. But then I was like, but then they can't hear
right,
me.
right. Then you gotta
Like,
lose the point
so,
of having it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
So,
I think about that stuff sometimes too, even with because I have some of the uh yeah, some of those like mini devices is listening all the time. And I don't know, it's like uh I like to say that I think about security. I'm always aware of like things like of people hacking and getting into my systems. But it's like we kind of discussed that it's a little bit of the balance between functionality and the security. And maybe I'm not as
right.
concerned about somebody hacking in and hearing my audio, hearing me talk about like what we're gonna eat tonight with my wife and stuff like that. I don't think there's much
I don't,
juicy bits
I
that
don't know,
people
Levon.
would probably get
They'll know
bored
when
if
you're
they
out
were
of the
like
house, so
listening
they
on
can
our
come in and get some
conversations.
consoles and the 82-inch TV. I'm just saying. Oh,
Oh, that's right. That's true.
Oh yeah.
That's
Hmm.
right. You're right about that. Yeah, maybe I gotta be a little bit more concerned about that. But no, it's definitely it's smart to be. You got to be smart about it. You got to be aware of what possibilities are out there. If people get into your systems, if we're all like complacent and just like, oh, whatever, everybody can get into everything, then that's when we're gonna really start seeing things kind of blow up. So nothing wrong with being cautious.
No, that makes sense. Definitely makes sense. So I don't have any tips to securing this vulnerability, obviously, because they've already patched it out. I want to say the article said 13.5, maybe. We're way past that now. So they found out about it and did not speak about it until way after um, it had been patched, which is smart. So in case there was still some vulnerability or some kind of exposure left over, they can make sure they patch it out of the system first. So
Yeah,
this one is already taken care
nice.
of.
That's good. And I know there's been some conflict between some other companies that have had because I think there's even with the group that discovered this. Uh, I think it was like a Google, like kind of white hat group that discovered this vulnerability. Uh, sometimes these groups can get a little, I don't know, they could jump the gun and they decide to, you know what, we can go ahead and let the public know about this. So if they feel like the company's taking too long a patch, they
or
go ahead and like
or if they
release
feel
it
like, or if they feel the
um,
company's not
to
taking
the
them
public to
seriously when
kind
they
of make
bring it
them
to them.
aware of like,
Yeah.
right, right, exactly, they're not getting taken serious. They're just going to go ahead and like let everybody know because they feel to the point like, oh, the company's not doing anything about it. I got to let people know that this is a chance that they can, they could be compromised. So let me let as many people know
Because
as we can.
the court of public opinion
So it's like
is very strong.
just a
That's why,
thing.
right? So like if you put it out there and then you let customers start
Yeah.
going away or
Hmm.
filing lawsuits or something like that, you'll listen then, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's just interesting. I think it's I don't know. It's good that we have these companies out here that are researching. Just pretty much they spend all their time just trying to hack certain devices, applications just to protect the public, and especially if a company like Google has some product or application that goes on that device, they want to make sure it's secure and that they don't get compromised as well, via that company's device.
Right.
So it's I guess it's a way to protect everybody.
No, definitely, definitely. And it seems like we're getting news every, week or so about these old exploits that are just now released to the public. So that's
Yeah.
good. That there's a pretty good cadence with the way they're taking care of things. But with that being said, I got nothing else. So, does anybody have anything they want to bring up? Any last alibis? Trying to peddle wares, what have you? I'm gonna put in
Right.
a plug. I'm gonna need you to play some good games for us, so next week I can talk
Start,
about what we've
start
been
That's
giving,
right.
start
playing
giving
That's right. What
requests
we've
like,
been
"Hey,
playing.
we want to
on your
play this
PS5.
game now."
That's right. I know. It's gonna. Yeah. I have to. Yeah. I have to update my library. I have Last of Us 2 for the PlayStation 5. I've been playing that prior to getting a PS5, um, and I just need to install it on a new system and get it ready. Because I haven't actually beat that one yet. I'm like probably halfway or three-quarters way through that game, which is it's a really great game, by the way. But um, I need to expand my
Yeah,
library. I want to play that Miles Morales Spider-Man game that came out with the PS5. Big fan of
yeah,
that. I love the movie, the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But that was a really good movie, and it's good to
right.
see people of color in a big get a big motion picture. I thought that was good. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
I'll keep you updated. I'll keep you in the loop of all the games that I'm playing.
yeah, definitely jump on that Miles
Yeah,
for us.
yeah,
I'm a big fan, and so that movie's getting a sequel, and then I think like all the reviews I saw about Miles Morales are like phenomenal.
yeah,
Like it's as good, if not better, than the Spider-Man that came out
yeah.
in 2018. And it kind of like they don't know where it's going to go. Like obviously, Spider-Man is the main character. He's going to get a full-length game, but Miles is so beloved now. Like, does he get another expansion? Does he get a game? I can talk
Hmm.
about this forever,
Yeah,
but I'm excited. So I hope
yeah.
to
Me
play that
too.
soon.
Me too. I love playing video games. It's good to kind of let loose and you kind of I don't know. You get to pull yourself away from the world, especially with COVID going on right now. You get to kind of put yourself
Right,
in a little, I don't know, little fantasy world, whatever you want to call it, that you can do whatever you
right,
like.
right.
Nothing for
Well,
me.
that's what's up. Shannon, anything? Any last alibis? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Levon. This has been a great episode. A little bit more compact. I'm looking at the time. It seems to have run just as long though. So we'll see what the feedback is. If people like it, I think we've decluttered a little bit of the show to kind of stay on topic and then give people a feel for our personalities and what have you. Um, when it comes to contacting us, obviously, um, if you're a Patreon member, Patrons have access to us through the Patreon, where they receive the show 7 days early and ad free. Uh, for those of you on the free feeds, you receive it 7 days later. Still pertinent, great information. Please reach out to us on our social medias. You can contact us. Well, I should say, go to the landing page. Go to www.theothersideofthefirewall.com, and that'll feed you to our Twitter, our Instagram, our Facebook. Um, I'm trying to figure out what other things to add to it, but obviously they'll also link you to the Patreon. And then you can find us officially as of a couple of days ago uh, through Apple Podcasts, through Amazon, through Google, through Stitcher, through Deezer, through I think it's called like Shoutcast or Castbox or something like that. I feel like old people. Like I got a game box. Um, but you pretty much find us anywhere podcasts exist. So please do so. Um, that's it. Thank you,
No,
gentlemen.
thank you.
Oh, and obviously share with your friends. Like, hey, you listen to it, like, it's a little too nerdy for me. I know you got some nerdy friends. I know you got some nerdy friends and people of color that will love to listen to this. All right, this podcast is for
That's right.
everybody. So definitely share with your
And
friends.
what? And don't we have
So
like yeah? Don't we have what's it we have a Twitter. We got the what's it? What is our Twitter again? At on the firewall something like that.
so the so the Twitter is at on underscore firewall. Like I'm going to Twitter right now to
Yeah,
make sure I get it right. Because nobody ever
yeah,
asks me. I'm already
right.
doing it.
Yeah, because it's a good way for people.
So
Yeah,
yes, yep, it's at on underscore firewall. That's at on _firewall. You can also reach me on Twitter. I'm Ry Security Guy. It's RYRY Security Guy, all one word, obviously, on Twitter. And then the big website is www.theothersideofthefirewall.com, and that'll link you to everything.
Nice. That's perfect.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Be
Thank you,
easy,
gentlemen.
y'all.
Appreciate
I
it.
appreciate you. Thank you, Shannon.
Hey, listeners. Please remember that you can support this podcast directly by becoming members of the show's Patreon. Here, you'll be able to listen to the podcast 7 days early, completely ad-free. However, in these trying times, we understand that you may not be able to become a Patreon just yet. In that case, please listen to the show once it's available on free feeds, leave us constructive feedback, and share with your blurred friends and family. Thank you.